Disclaimer: the content provided in this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. While we discuss topics related to mental health advice, life wisdom, and alike, the opinions expressed are personal views of the hosts and do not constitute professional, legal, or medical advice. We make no representations or warranties about the accuracy or completeness of the information discussed. Any action you take based on the information in this podcast is strictly at your own risk, and we are not liable for any losses or damages in connection with its use. Additionally, this podcast may contain discussions around addictions, substances, which are intended for adult audiences. We do not endorse any illegal activities. Please consult your local laws before engaging in any actions related to this content. By listening to this podcast, you agree that you are over the age of 18 or the age of majority in your jurisdiction and understand the terms of this disclaimer.
Welcome to the Balancing Forces podcast, where two opposites collide in the best way possible. One brings the fire,
the other keeps it chill.
But together we share life's lessons, hard-earned wisdom,
advice you can actually use.
Whether you need a fresh perspective or just a laugh, we're here to elevate your mind. So buckle up, because things are about to get real and
really funny.
Are you ready to level up your astrology game? Join the Alchemist Laboratory by Solar Systems. For just $33 a month, you get access to 10+ courses, a resource library, manifestation secrets, live Q&As, and so much more. Over $2,300 in value. Transform your understanding of astrology and unlock hidden knowledge. Sign up now through the school app and follow Solar Systems on TikTok and Instagram.
Chapter 22, The Computer Chip of Your Soul. One of the greatest challenges on the spiritual journey is determining who you are and who you are not, and that which is and is not your path. It can be tremendously frustrating to have both the courage and the eagerness to stand up and pursue an authentic life, but not know which way to go. Heeding the voice inside, for some people, is much easier than hearing the voice. For the price of hearing the voice, or feeling it, to be accurate, is the willingness to still your life, to calm yourself enough to begin to feel your truth inside. And that is just a scary as heck spot to be in. As mentioned previously, so many people keep running in so many ways: addictions, busyness, relationships, distractions, so as to avoid the tidal wave of feelings, thoughts, uncertainty, fears, and memories that would seemingly overwhelm them if they slowed down, not to mention stopped and stood still. But that's where the answer is. It's in the willingness to just calm yourself for a moment, for an hour, for some regular amount of time, so that the endless voices and thoughts may begin to pass and your own authentic voice might rise up from within. You cannot feel and hear your own inner voice, your own intuition, until you quiet your life and go into a state of relaxation. A few tips for quieting life and quieting the mind. Some people like to meditate. Meditation is a powerful means for quieting the mind and thereby unlocking creativity and intuition. Some find their creative energy is tapped into through yoga. I have found journaling to be a powerfully effective for me when I'm simply laying in bed at 3 a.m. in the morning, when I often awaken. I keep 2 pads of paper next to me, one on which I'm flushing out all of the thoughts and feelings inside of me. On the other, I jot to-do notes as they arise. Be sure to drop off the dry cleaning today and call that client before his meeting Tuesday, so that they are out of me and on paper for me to deal with later in the day. That allows me to focus on releasing all of the feelings, fears, anxieties, etc. that are coming up from my day and week or from my past through my journaling. When that stuff is out of me, I sink into a naturally deeper state of relaxation. Sometimes I drift off to sleep. Sometimes I lay there at peace and the most brilliant ideas, feelings, or new epiphanies come to me. I also recommend breathing exercises. Eliminating stimulants from your life for a brief time or reducing them can help this. I went from an evening tiddly every day to eliminating all alcohol for 4 evenings a week. My sleep has improved dramatically and my creativity shot back up. And then, in addition to the willingness to be still and listen, must be the willingness to go a new direction, fail, fall down, mess up, and even quit when it no longer feels right. If your highest drive is the security of a certain permanent path, best not to even get started on the spiritual journey, because you'll never get the security you seek, even as surely as you will get the aliveness you've always sought. I like to think of this act of allowing your true self to rise up from within as sort of a reading the chip. It's a simple metaphor, one that requires an ounce of belief in your preordained originality. When you were born, the universe inserted into you a computer chip, metaphorically speaking, onto which was written with the code for every last thing about you, for your past, present, and future. what you're good at when you're 25, what you stink at, what you're good at when you're 45 or 65, what flowers you like, eye color, Beatles, Stone, Dylan, or Zeppelin, your life values, how you like your morning eggs, height and weight, type of girls or boys you'll like when you're 15, type of women or men you'll like when you're 30 or 55, what energizes you, back sleeper, side sleeper, stomach sleeper, or non sleeper insomniac, what depletes you, movies you hate, foods you love, what are you allergic to, Mac or PC, your love of old people, your mild displeasure for cigar smoke, your love of coffee, your true thoughts on money and family, your love of hockey, on and on ad infinitum. Everything, it's all there, written on that chip, deep inside of you, to begin to know your overarching dreams and paths, as well as the answers to your day-to-day decisions. You must tune into the chip written on your soul. This is only done by learning to feel. Your body speaks the truth of your chip. So many people want to know God's will for their life, love God, and love the neighbor. Seems to be a pretty good formula for that. But what does it mean to love God? Does it mean to pray to the sky, go to church or a synagogue? To love God and know God's will for your life is to be who God already made you to be. To love God is to read the chip that was implanted in you when you were made and then live it. Your GPS is already programmed, but you got to be in the moment, tuned into your intuition to feel it, not on autopilot. This is what it means to live deliberately, to be fully honest in each moment. No one else can read your computer chip, and no one else can possibly know what is written on your chip. Only you. This can be tremendously frustrating for you when you have parents, friends, and lovers who want to tell you how to run your life or tell you what's best for you. It can also be tremendously frustrating for them when you start realizing they can't know your chip. And, in fact, your life's work is to find out, allow what is written on your chip. It is to begin to feel that inner pulse of your own self. That is how we identify who we are. What is written on your own individual chip just feels good, feels right, feels exciting, brings relief, and or flows effortlessly. To become who you really are, to begin to unpack that box from deep inside requires experiencing new ideas, new paths, new words, and so forth to see how they feel on your skin and in your body. It is to allow the voice of your soul to rise up, fill you, and be felt. This is what it means to live in a deep and powerful relationship with your own self. This is what it means to live in communication with the spirit of the universe rising up from inside you. This is what it means to hear and trust your own intuition. Your body stores your truth. It stores your memories that have been charged with a particular emotion. Also, it reads to you the feel of some event, person, idea, or circumstance that is standing in front of you. Despite everything you've been taught, the answer to your life are not outside of you. They are inside of you and can be easily read once you clear away the blockages, fears, pain, and debris of past experiences and untruths that have been forced upon your soul. You can actually feel what your next step is. As mentioned, this also requires a willingness to start and stop, to quit that which is not your next step or path. In the Hindi language, there is a word neti, which simply means not this. At times in life, we do not know what the path is, only what it isn't. At times in life, all we can say is neti, neti, neti. Not this, not that either, and definitely not that. Oh, and for a while it was this, but it's not this anymore. The path to discovering or allowing who we are often requires discovering who we are not. That happens over time with self permission to quit or fall down and a zone free of judgment. Recognizing that your soul is constantly trying to communicate with you through your body and its feel. Anytime you feel a loss of energy, lethargy, deadness inside, or even extreme anxiety, it is your soul communicating to you that this is not your path. To know the path of the universe for you is to trust and follow the energy. When I was a young man, I attempted to discern my next path by trying to envision which path was the path of light and the path of dark. But that, I began to realize, was more just a mental exercise. I had an epiphany when I realized that in the Judeo-Christian stories, particularly in creation, whether you take those stories as fact, metaphor, or total fiction, the God is always breathing life into something to give it life. In the Jewish Christian book of Genesis, the clay that God formed into a man did not actually have life until he breathed into its nostrils. The teacher Jesus breathed on his disciples in the upper room after his resurrection, and in so doing, gave them his Holy Spirit. In other words, the way to know God's path for me is simply to find the path that breathes life into me. Once I realized that, everything changed. The goal of life is that supreme feeling of aliveness that comes from living 100 miles per hour with your hair on fire, and that only comes from knowing who the heck you really are, which necessarily requires knowing who you are not. It is about having the courage to be who you really are and having slowed your life way down, even stopped it regularly, to feel the pulse of the universe rising up in its fully original manifestation in your own soul. Your intention is the GPS of your individual, authentic life. To live in the moment doesn't mean just stop and smell the roses more or to notice the pretty trees. Living in the moment in a spiritual sense means to be tuned into your own vibe, that quiet voice of the universe inside, in each moment, listening, feeling, tuning into its calling and direction for what is next. Dewiring the child from the parent's chip. But the source of the problem of so many people being disconnected from their own self, from their own chip, is that when we raise children, we wire them into our own chips as parents. We teach them our values, our wants, our loves, our dislikes, our everything. From ages 0 to 10, roughly, the child's life is near completely an expression of my chip as the parent. Be nice to old people, look both ways before crossing, work hard in school, mind your P's and Q's, be nice to your sister, etc. The problem we run into as parents is that we never dewire the child from our own chip, after or even during those early years. It is so doggone hard as a parent to let go of that level of control and influence. To see someone become you is mightily intoxicating. Further, precisely when the child most needs to begin wiring into and listening to his own chip, roughly around the tween or puberty years, is when the stakes become higher and the chances for heartbreak and loss increases. In the teens, the child naturally wishes to differentiate herself from mom and dad, to begin to express her own truth written on the chip of her soul, or at least begin to experiment to see what might be on her chip. She naturally wants to experience netties. She wants to find and express what feels right to her and what doesn't. But the parent becomes afraid not only of the child getting hurt, which of course is an absolute prerequisite of an autonomous life, but also of losing influence and in fact losing parental identity. I mean, think about it. You've been driving this kid around, influencing this kid, teaching this kid for years. Whether you ever intended to or not, your identity began to be wrapped up in this kid. Inch by inch, mile by mile, you became more of who they are. Just as interestingly, they became more of who you are. Which is why it's a specious claim to antagonize a late teen, early 20s kid for being this or that, doing or not doing this or that, or overall disappointing the parent. The kid is just this extension of you. He is very little of anything he has created himself. You haven't let him. So how can you now blame him or her? And to detach from that massive piece of your identity is terrifying for the parent. Of course, the parent will claim, on the surface, that they fear for the child's safety and only want what's best for the kid. But deep down, the fear is also that I have no idea who I am once this kid is gone. I can't let go. This is neither good nor even tenable long term for the child or the parent. It is just doggone hard to let go of a large chunk of one's identity. But alas, we each only get one life to live, not two. It's darn fun to live two or more lives. Yet, That's not how the story is written. You get yours and Junior gets his. You don't get his too. Most of my clients, particularly the uber successful ones, are hollow inside because they have or had parents who are living two lives, their own and that of my client. To contain a child, to steer a child, to box a child because of my own fears of not knowing who I am or not being confident about who I am is the worst crime imaginable. It is to steal another life because of my own insecurities. And we couch it in those utterly specious, ugly terms of it being in the child's best interests, terrified of the truth. Of course, this is the parent who never dewired from the chip of his mom or dad, from the chip of society, and from the chip of those powerful influences in his life. And so now the problem gets passed on to the next generation, unless someone breaks the cycle. It is actually easier to live and direct your child's life than it is to live and direct your own, as the latter makes one more subject of the criticisms of others. You've been terrified of your authentic voice, and now Junior is terrified of his too, because for Junior to not be so would mean simultaneously standing up to the most powerful person in his life, you, disappointing you and or angering you, robbing you of a big part of your identity. But this generalization, dysfunctional hand-me-down, has to be short-circuited. If not, your pain and frustration with life will become Junior's pain. To begin to live your truth, whether at age 13 or 43, is to begin to hear and heed the voice of your soul. It is to begin to read your own chip and encourage others to read theirs. It is to begin to truly feel again for the first time. You have been stuffing your feelings down. You have been denying them credence by saying, it's no big deal, or I'll be all right, or I'm fine, when asked what's going on inside of you, or when someone reads a vibe of unrest coming off of you. By neglecting or even lying about your true feelings, you fundamentally convey to life that your feelings, your life, your existence don't matter. Gee, is it any wonder, then, that you continue to attract people and situations that confirm that belief? You are so comfortable and familiar with things that confirm your worthlessness that you keep choosing them. Until your feelings matter enough to be expressed by you, you will not be happy and you will not matter. Until you matter enough to you to express your truth, you won't matter much to anyone else, no matter how much you keep begging them to love you, approve you, or throw you some scrap from the table of love and life. Until you dewire yourself from the chips of others, saying no to their influences and power in your life, and begin to wire into your own chip, you will not be happy. You will continue to live a fake life, and a life that never was you from the beginning. Song recommendations. This song, more than anything, this song more than any other, has been so elemental to my own spiritual life. When I was in the deepest parts in the darkest forest, this song spoke to me. That was a very long time ago. Yet this absolute poetry of Dan Fogelberg's voice, of Dan Fogelberg, Yet this absolute poetry of Dan Fogelberg, for the love of fucking mighty gracious shit. Yet this absolute poetry of Dan Fogelberg's verse still moves my soul. Listen to Nexus and pull up the lyrics as well so that you can dive into them as he sings. It is a beautifully powerful song. It speaks to the frustrations of the spiritual path as well as beliefs that there are forces guiding our steps, speaking to us and moving us. Bonus tracks. Core readers, keep moving right on to the next chapter. Advanced readers, bonus track 11, effortlessness and flow.
How awesome is this? This is going to be the book we're going to be giving away. It is an autographed copy as well. Thanks for listening. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Share this out with your friends. At the end of the series, there will be a giveaway for a copy of your own book. Thank you.